Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Business Exchange, the show where we dive into ideas, people, and innovation shaping industry and redefining the future. I'm your host, Joseph. Today, I'm joined by Marc Andre, General Manager and co owner of Lumigraph, a Montreal based company known for pushing the boundaries of custom, high end architectural surfaces. From illuminating translucent panels to bold, bespoke finishes, Lumigraph isn't following trends, they're setting them. Marc Andre, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joseph.
Yeah, quite welcome. All right, so Lumigraph was has over 25 years of history.
Correct.
How did the company begin, and what problem were you solving back then?
Very good question. So maybe just to, I'll say, set the table. So I'm actually the new owner for the past a little bit over a year now. So the company was founded over 25 years ago by a gentleman named Robert. And actually, so his main focus at the time was a lot with servicing casinos, and making decorative panels, and it would, I would say, naturally evolve towards the Lumionics collection that we have and all these backlit panels that we are offering. The gentleman, the former owner, was at a time where was ready to retire. So, without having anybody inside the company that was ready to take the ownership, we came in as external investors and operators at that time. So, it's been a very interesting journey, but we're really happy to be, giving it a second life and a new push in that industry.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. So you're very clear about not doing off the shelf products.
Correct. Yes.
Why was customization so central to Lumigraph's DNA from day one?
Very good question. I would say that there is the first reflex to answer that is that there is already a lot of off-the-shelf products that are available. Whether if you're thinking about big box retailers, making panels or very, I'll say, generic products, these are something that's already quite readily available. But when it comes to major projects, think about hotels, restaurants, something that's coming out of the shelf is not necessarily what they're going to be looking for, especially when we're talking about backlighting products. So we do offer a very comprehensive solution in the sense that we can do anything from 1/16 in thickness to 3/8, and then we can also do cut to size. So if they need 3x5, we can do 3x5, we can do 4x8. So it gives architects and designers a lot of flexibility when working on a project. Whereas if you're going with more like off-the-shelf products, well, this is what you get. And you're not necessarily going to be getting that same that specificity that you're looking for.
Right.
And also, we have a collection of over, I'll say, 200 designs that we can also customize. And obviously, having 200 designs in inventory with all that, all these different thickness and all that, it would not make sense economically. So that business model really was, I'll say, natural to be able to service. So to say, well, everything's made to order. We offer very good lead times to our customers, and we're just offering that flexibility that off-the-shelf products may not necessarily offer.
Yes, that's good. So what does setting trends actually mean in an industry that often plays it safe?
Good question. I would say what we've tried to do, I would say at the origin, was also do a lot of imitations of natural stones, onyx, marbles, and whatnot. And these products, natural stones, they have their place in obviously designs and architecture. But sometimes when you're working about backlighting, there's like weight issues, and then some of these stones are more fragile. So we offer a very good alternative to natural stones, whereas like if you're picking a slab, well, this is the slab you're getting. But if you're saying making, I don't know, you need like 6, 8, 10 sheets, you may not be necessarily getting all the same designs or what you're looking for. So it gives a lot more control in terms of the design choice to the designers and architects, and we can always also tweak the color tones and whatnot. So I think that's where it evolved. I'll say naturally to say we're gonna bring out these more collections, more designs. Some elements are more funky or whatnot. Even though for I'll say most of our sales are always like at the safe, traditional, very toned down, or I'll say muted products. But if they need something a little bit more out of the box, out of the ordinary, we can do it. Recently we were working with a designer for a restaurant, and they really liked our product, but because of the color schemes and all that, they want something a little bit more pinkish. So,
Right.
using the designs that we had, we were able to tweak it, create samples, get them approved, and move forward with a very unique product that is definitely not off the shelf for that restaurant.
Perfect. So walk us through a typical Lumicraft project. You don't have to go into too many
Yeah.
details, but from concept to installation.
Correct. So most of the time it will start with the architects or designers when they're building out like the whole project, and they will get in touch with us to say, okay, they're looking to do backlight bar, for instance, in a restaurant area of an hotel, and then we'll work with them with the different designs or adjustments in terms of what they need. As I was saying, like for instance, we can offer with a glossy or a matte finish. So these are all the type of conversations that we're going to have with them. Well, even our samples are made to order. So once they know exactly like with the thickness, type of material, we're going to work with them, provide them samples, and then as the projects get approved, we'll work with the general contractors. It's a product that's very easy to work with. As I was saying, we can do cut to size. So if they need very specific measurements, we're gonna work with them for the exact sizing of that project. And then we do the delivery. We don't do the installation, but it's a fairly straightforward product. So we'll accompany, help with them like when there's like questions about backlighting or these little specificities. But it's a fairly straightforward product. Then afterwards, when it comes to the installation.
Yeah. No, I really like your idea of what you do with creating the samples. That
Correct.
must really help and outstand that you're not waiting for the project to be approved. That here's your actual sample for you, and that must really help in building the business.
Correct, and that's part of our business model, especially since we do have now like agencies and other people representing us, but it's not like we have a dedicated sales force all across Canada and the U.S. or around the world, I should say. Most of our clients are Canadian and U.S. based, mostly U.S. based, but we do also international projects. But yeah, that way of working with them, of providing them samples to order versus just like sending out a swatch where you have like these little smaller pieces.
Yeah.
We'll provide like bigger size
Yeah.
samples of exactly what they're going to be getting. So it's like always like a section of the panels that we'll provide. So that's part of the service and the experience that we give them, so that they're really getting a sense of what they're getting into, what they're going to be buying, and getting to see it. So whether we're talking with somebody in Cincinnati or in Florida, we'll communicate over the phone or whatnot, but then they'll actually be able to receive these samples fairly quickly that are specifically needed for their projects.
Oh, excellent. So designers and architects come to you with bold ideas.
Yeah.
How do you balance creativity with feasibility?
Well, good question. I think most of the time we're able to accommodate their needs. I think even if it's like a different designs, or like even this week we got somebody that's they're working on a project, it's not going the way they want, so they pitched us a completely different designs or something that we don't have in our catalog, but we were able to work with it. And especially today's with AI tools, we can do upscaling, because as you can imagine, when we're printing large pieces, we need to have good quality image. But
Right.
so like on this one, they sent us something that's like completely different, more with a little bit more of a, I'll say, a linen texture in it. Obviously, it's not going to have that 3D feel, but we're confident that it's going to give a similar effect to what they're trying to achieve plus adding our backlighting effects. So I really truly believe that we'll be working with them. But yeah, like in most cases, they come to us, we have a discussion, we see what we can do, and we always use these as opportunities to do R&D, unless it's like completely not feasible. But if not, like we rarely refuse a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure there's one or two concepts that are just out of the world. So
Correct. Yeah, there are some. I'll give an example because we're using a lamination process. Someone was asking us to do panels in a sauna, and I just like this is not gonna happen. Get natural stone. Like you, in this case, the humidity is just gonna destroy the product, and it's not gonna work. Even though they're very resistant and all that, but the idea are these types of environments, like in a sauna, it's just like it's not going to happen with our processes, and unfortunately, we can't do miracles on that.
No,
front, but that was one of the rare exceptions. I said, sorry, not this time. Like we'll look at other areas of that spa, but that sauna is not. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, the entrance or something. Yeah, if you're inside, you just better stick with your cedar wood, or else you're going to have problems.
Exactly.
So what's the biggest misconceptions clients have about custom surface manufacturing?
I would say the biggest misconception is, I would say, it's around like affordability. Obviously, we're like in terms of price range, we're not like the off the shelf get something at Home Depot product. But we're still, compared to like to natural stones or these type of products, we're still very, very, I don't want to say aggressively, but we're very well positioned in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
So I think there's like sometimes like that misconception that this product is not available to all types of projects. And because we can also like do cut to size, if you're working on a restaurant and you don't necessarily need 25 panels, but you need like 4 or 5, and then they're smaller. By making smaller pieces, we're also like saving on shipping, because obviously, like when we're shipping these, if you're shipping 4x8 panels, this is not going into a FedEx next day envelope. It's it needs crating and palletizing and all these, like, that's a reality of logistics. So we're that's something that we can avoid, but by working with them, and then we can, like, most of the time accommodate their budget and having something very feasible.
Oh, good. So what are the biggest operational bottlenecks in high customization manufacturing?
I would say we're fairly fortunate in the sense that because we control everything here locally, so it's not, we don't outsource manufacturing. It's all done from our facilities here in Montreal. And we have a very good supply chain, so we're able to source like raw materials, in like 24, 48 hours if we don't have it on hand. As I was saying, we're a non-inventory based product, but obviously we keep inventory of like raw materials. But sometimes product clients will come in with something very specific, and like 99.9% of the time we're still able to source these. So I think on that front, like we have a very good supply chain. As any other manufacturing type of business, labor is always, I will say, a challenge, in the sense that it's still we need specialized resources, people to do these. It's not like operating a machine and you press the green button, comes out, and put it in a box, So it does require a little bit more in terms of specialized labor, and it's not the type of, for some of the portions of the process, it's not like we can just go off the street and hire and train somebody readily in 24 hours. So there's like a lot of craftsmanship behind what we do. So that's still a little bit of a portion of what of the challenges we have. But we're fortunate enough that we have a very good team. We're looking to hire. We have some good prospects. So on that front, we're still able to meet the demand that we have.
Perfect. Good. So how challenging is it to manage expectations when every project is truly one-off?
It's part of our DNA, I would say. So it's not like that special projects come in and like we have to get the team together. Like, how are we going to address it? So even though all the projects are made to order, essentially all projects are made to order in custom. but we build our processes internally so that it's not this is not a challenge. Every now and then we'll get something that's a little bit more out of the box. We'll have to think about it, but most of the time this is what we do. So it's not like I'm operating a factory and all of a sudden, we have to make a batch of blue cars instead of when we're always making gray. So how do we all change that? So because it's part of our DNA, it's just this is how we manage the business.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Good. So talent and craftsmanship is critical. How hard is it to find and retain skilled people today?
It's always a challenge. We've been fortunate that we've retained our people. So a lot of our employees have like 10 plus years of services with us.
Oh, nice.
So we're good on that front. We are looking to hire more people, but it's always a little bit more of a challenge because, as I was saying, we want to get the right people with us in the team. So, but we're working with different avenues, looking for the right word in English, but woodworking type of or the schools, So we'll try to get students in. Sometimes they'll come in, work a day or two per week, and then we try to and then if there's an opportunity, when we find the good ones, we try to keep them and retain them. So that's a little bit of sort of the avenue that we've taken. So. But I'm not gonna lie, it is a challenge, but so far we've been able to accommodate it. And lastly, on that point, we're fortunate enough that it's not like I have to hire 50 people to build something very highly specialized. So we're still a small team, and we're that way more able to work with references, trying out with students, and this type of strategies, and it's been working well for us so far.
No, the student co-op type approach. It gives you a chance to see what they're made of, and
exactly
without fully committing to them as an employee and all that stuff. So
and they bring in new ideas or new ways or perspective that we don't necessarily have. I have when you're always in the same processes, you'll have I had a student, he's working a lot with the beer beer manufacturing, completely different, but still brings us hey, if you guys taught this, taught that, oh no, this is a good idea. So we'll obviously try to implement these in our processes.
Perfect. So, what keeps you up at night as a co-owner of your business?
The traditional consultant question, I would say. I guess, generally speaking, it's always more about the economy, the demand, where the market's shifting. When we made the analysis about the investment in the acquisition, we had given ourselves some criteria, we didn't want to invest or buy a startup or something like that. We didn't want to go into tech, even though I have a strong tech background. I wanted to go into more what's very trendy, the boring businesses, more something that we made. So one of our first reflection was we don't want to buy a company that will be replaced by AI, or that Amazon or Google is going to give out that product for free. If I think about some softwares, they're very good, and then sometimes then Microsoft comes in and they just bundle it within Teams or something like that. So that was something that we really stayed away from. And looking at decorative panels, if I'm projecting in 10 years, we're still going to be building hotels, restaurants, and that. They're also going to be needing panels. So we didn't see a direct replacement that could happen overnight or very quickly in that type of industry. So, but just like any business owner, it's always about the economy, the exchange rate, demands, and whatever's what's going on in this world. So that's the what's giving us away. But being a more niche player, we know we have our place, and even though we have some growth perspective, we know that we can, if we don't necessarily meet them, we can still be in a growing business for years to come. So
perfect, good. So how do you price custom work while protecting margins?
Good question. So actually, we have a very, I'll say, simple approach of pricing, where we're basically going with the sizing of our panels and the thickness. So we have our, call it standard pricing model based on that. And then once they need like smaller pieces, we have our calculation to calculate based on like how much waste we're going to be having or of that sort. But yeah, it's still a fairly straightforward pricing that is based on the panels. If there's any like specific options like adding metallized effect or something like that, and then like it's like shipping and transport, which is it's just a cost. Like this is how we always try to find the best cost for our customers in terms of shipping, and shipping is always a challenge, like finding good transport companies. But we're fortunate enough that we have a few good partners. So, and then we look at okay, like that there's no like one specific. It's not like I'm always delivering to Florida. We're always like shipping all over Canada, U.S.
Yes.
So we work and based on the size and the quantities of that they're working on, we'll be going in that way. So yeah, we're fortunate enough that we've developed a good methodology that it's 99% of the time in 24 hours, even if it's a little bit of a custom project, we'll be able to give out a quote for these clients, unless it's something very out of the box of what we do and we have to do a little bit more R&D or labor. But yeah, most of the time we're still straightforward in terms of pricing.
Oh, excellent. Good. So is scaling a custom business harder than scaling a standardized one, and why?
I would say it's two different models. As you can guess, when we're in a custom business, our margins are, I'll say, a little bit more comfortable than what you're going to see on retail or off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're not maintaining any inventory, well, it makes it a little bit more easier for us to manage. Let's say pricing. When you're off the shelf, sometimes you'll have inventory, then you have to think markdown, liquidation, all of these things. Whereas like everything's made to order, so I know on that job how much money I'm going to be making, and our margins are factored in for that model. So I would say it's just like, for me, it's like two different processes. We were we knew like when we were buying this business, we're not going into the like off the shelf or standardized products and building inventory. We're not. This is not our DNA. This is not what we do. There's like a lot of people doing it. They do a great job. They have their place in the market. But in our case, it's really just like we do custom work, and everything is built around that model.
Yeah. And of course, with custom work in a niche like that, like you mentioned, profit margins are better.
Correct.
So you're not totally reliant on high volume sales.
Correct.
Where you can still do well with less sales.
Exactly. So it's a different. We still have our base cost structure that we have to assume. That's an obvious part. But it's a different mindset, and when you're looking more on call it distribution or standardized off-the-shelf products, where it's like a different, like, okay, well, I think last year I sold 100,000 units. This year I think I'm going to sell 110, and this is the mix of product. Factor in some markdowns or discounts or liquidation, and all that sort. But for ourselves, it's more like, okay, how many projects do we think we can win? How many that we can secure to make sure that we're as a whole we're making a profit, but it's a completely different mindset for us.
Yes. So what does sustainable growth look like for your company over the next 3 to 5 years?
Good question. I would say we're obviously more like operating into like a growing into the double digits in terms of sales and volume, being a niche player versus some of the other bigger ones that are making custom. We do know that there is some good market shares that we can be winning, And the other portion I would add also is just like we, the company, especially with the pandemic, was more into a slow downturn. Company needed some more investments in terms of like marketing, websites, bringing new designs and all that. So we're investing a lot just to give it more energy for the coming years. And so far, we're seeing the results, and we know that we're going to be, winning in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Good. All right. A little bit of shift to technology.
Sure.
Where do you already see technology improving the design to production workflow?
Well, the first portion that we've seen, I'll say AI helping us, it's mostly like in terms of upscaling and getting good quality images for our panels. So definitely now tools are much more available, call it easy to use, whereas like 10, 15 years ago, when you needed, I don't know, let's say a client wants a panel with a very specific image, but he only has a low res, 10, 15 years ago, you needed very specialized softwares, even employees to like tweak it in Photoshop and all of that.
Yeah.
Today, you send me something and like in half an hour, not even half an hour, like in a few clicks, I have something and I'll be producing a sample to see if it works. So that is definitely the first portion that we're seeing big benefits for us in our processes and workflows upstream with our clients. Secondly, we're still in the, call it, boring businesses. So, it's labor, it's cutting panels, it's lamination processes. So technology for now, is not as AI is not going to replace a lamination press or something like that.
No.
But we're seeing some of these, like in terms of like our printing technologies that we're using, so that we're seeing some advancement. We need a little bit less specialized labor to operate the machines. So like in terms of like preparing the images or the designs, printing, testing, and all that. So now we're seeing much more benefits around that. And I'll say the second portion is now like more related to customer service or marketing when it comes to like generating documents and stuff, or like blog posts or all that. Obviously, we're going to leverage technology, whereas like before you would need like a ghostwriter, 2-3 hours of Word back and forth. Nowadays, like I have an idea. I'll work on a draft. AI is going to help me refine it, then I'm going to rework it. So it saves me a lot of time to be able to keep stuff in-house. But one thing is what we're really staying away is more replacing customer service with AI. We see company doing it, but this is not part of our DNA and part of our experience. Where people know when they call, it's like Marc-André or JP that's going to pick up the phone. It's not an AI agent. When emails are always answered by a real person, we'll use Grammarly to check for spelling mistakes and tweaking languages, but we're not, we don't really believe in AI replacing these answers. And for us, because we're in the custom custom designs and the relationship, AI is not going to be replacing that right now. It's going to help us definitely.
Yes, of course.
But it's so we will use and leverage these as much as possible. But yeah, we're not at the point where AI is going to answer the phone for us or answer our emails, and I don't foresee it in the next 2-3 years being that portion. Maybe at one point we'll use it more to leverage some. Send you like a shipping notification, or hey, your order's in transit. Here's your tracking numbers. So yeah, for sure. But 95% of the questions we ask, they need a human intervention. Behind.
Yes. Yeah, because it's not standard stuff, so you just can't have an AI, with its database that just answer generically. And I understand what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt, but it goes with your customization and hands-on.
Yeah.
we're in the people business. You know, at the end of the day, you're dealing directly with them, and they'll appreciate that more, and
Correct.
that will build your business nicely.
You know, like I'll take a simple question that we get asked sometimes is like, like what's the difference between a glossy and a matte finish? You know, so for sure I could have a generic train an AI bot to be able to answer that, but still we need to understand what's the project. Are you going to backlight it or not? Are you putting it where there's going to be a lot of natural sunlight and there's going to be a glare? So it's always more of a conversation. So yeah. Like AI could answer like, what's the difference between glossy and matte? Okay, here's like the generic answer. But then again, most of the time, this is not what we're, you know, that's not what people or customers are asking us. They're asking us more questions about, oh, I saw a picture on Instagram, I really like it, I want to do something similar, like what was used, what is this, what is that, and can you provide me other examples? Or like, oh yeah, what about glossy and matte? Oh, what about the thickness and what about?
Yes.
So it's a conversation, and you know, I believe it builds the trust and the relationship with people, and that's what we appreciate. You know, even I personally, when I understand that sometimes folks will use AI as a receptionist, like, oh, who are you calling for? What's for? But like, okay, you know, but you know, I like talking to my suppliers.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Having real conversations, you know.
So do you see AI becoming more of a partner than a tool in the future?
Good question. I think I would see it more as a tool, if I were, in a sense, as I was saying, like, Grammarly, great tool, helps, you know, English is my second language, so obviously when I send an email to a client, I want to make sure I'm not making any spelling mistakes. We tend to type quickly, so these things need to work out. Same thing about upskilling and using these type of, or, you know, working in tools like Photoshop or Canva or anything else. Obviously AI is going to help us as a tool to help us build, or like, let's say, social media posts or blog posts. But for us, I don't see it as a stage where AI is going to completely, you know, the AI employee that's going to make my social media strategy. For us, I don't see it quickly in the next 2 to 3 years, for sure.
Right. Perfect. Good. Well, Marc-Andre, this has been an incredible look behind the curtain of what you really takes to deliver world-class custom architectural surfaces.
Yep.
From craftsmanship and creativity to the business realities and the future of AI and design. For those listening, if you're a designer, architect, or builder who wants surfaces that don't just fit a space but define it, check out Lumigraph. And it's lumigraph.ca?
Correct, with an F.
Yes. Perfect. Marc-Andre, that's been a pleasure, and thank you for joining the Business Exchange.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Been a pleasure being with you today.
Perfect.
For this conversation.
Yes, thank you again.